let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt like your life is on autopilot, like your days are just happening to you instead of because of you? Imagine this. What if I told you that the single most powerful tool you have to change your life is sitting quietly between your ears? That's right, your mind, your thoughts, your beliefs, your internal world is the foundation of everything. And the truth is, when you learn to control your mind, you gain the power to conquer your world. Step 1, your mind is the command center. Your mind is the starting point of everything you experience and everything you achieve. Every decision you make, every habit you form, every result you create in your life, it all begins in your mind. Before a single action is taken, it is first born as a thought. That thought, repeated and believed, becomes a belief, and that belief becomes a behavior. Over time, those behaviors shape your character, your results, and ultimately your destiny. Most people go through life reacting to their environment. They respond to circumstances, other people's opinions, and temporary emotions without ever realizing that they're giving up control of the most powerful force they have, their mind. What they don't understand is that life isn't happening to them. It's being filtered, interpreted, and shaped by their own mental patterns. The mind decides what is possible. The mind decides what's worth pursuing. The mind decides what is a threat and what is an opportunity. Your mind in every waking moment is collecting data, making meaning, and driving your next move. When your thoughts are scattered, so is your focus. When your mind is clouded with negativity, distractions, and limiting beliefs, your actions reflect that chaos. On the other hand, when your thinking is deliberate, structured, and focused on purpose, your actions follow suit. You begin to make decisions not based on fear, but on strategy, not based on impulse, but on vision. You begin to act like someone who is in control because you are. Controlling your mind means becoming the commander, not the passenger. It means you're no longer allowing the world to dictate how you feel, what you do, or where you're going. Instead, you're creating a mental environment that breeds strength, clarity, and resilience. You're choosing the thoughts that empower you. You're setting the tone for your emotions. You're creating mental habits that align with your goals, not sabotage them. It's important to understand that your mind is constantly at work. Whether you're aware of it or not, it's always processing, evaluating, imagining, anticipating. If you're not actively directing it, it will run on autopilot, often replaying old fears, past failures, and outdated beliefs that no longer serve you. But the moment you take the wheel and start consciously choosing your thoughts, you tap into a level of power that most people never access. You can program your mind the same way a pilot programs a flight path. You can input your destination, reinforce it daily, and course correct along the way. And just like a plane doesn't get to its target by drifting, you won't reach your full potential unless you guide your thinking intention. Step 2, clarity is power. Clarity is one of the most underrated forms of power a person can possess. When your mind is clear, when your purpose is defined, your goals are specific, and your vision is sharp, your ability to take effective action increases dramatically. Without clarity, you wander. You drift through life hoping things will fall into place, reacting to what happens instead of creating what you want. But when you are clear about who you are, what you want, and where you're going, everything begins to align with that intention. The human brain thrives on direction. It's wired to seek out patterns, make connections, and solve problems. But it can only do that efficiently when it knows what it's working toward. When your vision is fuzzy or your goals are vague, your mind doesn't know what to focus on. You begin to chase distractions, say yes to the wrong things, and waste time on efforts that don't move you forward. That confusion breeds hesitation, and hesitation is the enemy of progress. Think about how a magnifying glass can take the diffuse rays of the sun and focus them into a single burning point that can ignite fire. That's what clarity does for your mental energy. It concentrates your attention, sharpens your priorities, and allows you to cut through the noise. You stop giving your time and energy to things that don't matter. You begin to identify what's essential, and you pour yourself into it with intensity and confidence. Clarity also eliminates overwhelm. Most people feel stressed and anxious, not because they have too much to do, but because they're not sure what they should be doing. They wake up without direction, work without a plan, and end their day without progress. That cycle creates frustration and burnout. But when you know your target, when every task is tied to a larger purpose, your actions begin to feel meaningful. You know why you're doing what you're doing, and that sense of purpose fuels persistence. In decision-making, clarity acts like a compass. It helps you navigate challenges with confidence because you're not guessing. You're guided by your values, your goals, and your bigger picture. You stop second-guessing yourself because your actions are rooted in a deeper sense of knowing. Even when obstacles show up, you don't panic. You simply adjust your approach, because your destination is still locked in. Clarity isn't something you wait for, it's something you create. You create it by asking powerful questions. What do I want? Why does it matter? What am I willing to do to get it? When you ask and answer these questions honestly, you start to remove mental fog. You peel back layers of distraction and uncover what truly matters to you. And once that vision becomes clear in your mind, your energy becomes focused, your actions become intentional, and your progress becomes inevitable. Step 3, discipline creates freedom. Discipline is often misunderstood. People hear the word and immediately think of restriction, control, or punishment. But true discipline isn't about limitation, it's about liberation. It's about having the power to choose long-term gain over short-term comfort. It's the skill of doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. And ironically, it's this very commitment to structure and consistency that opens the door to real freedom. Every area of your life, your health, your finances, your relationships, your career, demands a level of discipline if you want to experience lasting success. Without it, you become reactive. You live by impulse, emotion, and external pressure. You say yes when you should say no. You procrastinate. You cut corners. And over time, these small lapses pile up into bigger consequences. But when discipline becomes a daily habit, you take back control. You stop living in reaction mode and start living on your own terms. Discipline means showing up, not just once in a while, not just when motivation strikes, but consistently. It's the decision to follow through on your commitments long after the excitement has faded. It's waking up early because you made a promise to yourself. It's sticking to your workout even when you're tired. It's turning off distractions when it's time to focus, and saying no to temptations that derail your progress. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent, intentional, and grounded in your purpose. People who rely only on motivation are at the mercy of their moods. They wait until they feel like taking action, but motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes. Discipline, on the other hand, is solid. It's reliable. It's the internal system that keeps you moving forward regardless of how you feel in the moment. It turns effort into habit and habit into mastery. Discipline also creates confidence. When you keep your promises to yourself, when you repeatedly do the hard things, you build trust with yourself. You begin to believe in your ability to follow through. That self-trust becomes a powerful source of momentum. You start to think differently, walk differently, act differently, because you've proven to yourself through repeated, disciplined action that you are in charge of your life. And discipline doesn't just help you succeed, it helps you simplify. It brings clarity to your priorities. You stop chasing everything and start focusing on what actually matters. You become more intentional with your time, your energy, and your attention. You create systems and routines that reduce decision fatigue and free up mental bandwidth for what's important. The beauty of discipline is that it compounds. Small, repeated choices add up over time and lead to massive transformation. At first, the results may seem invisible, but day by day, you're building a foundation of strength, character, and resilience. You're building the kind of life that doesn't crumble under pressure because it's built on the bedrock of daily discipline. Step 4, your thoughts shape your reality. Every experience you have, every outcome you achieve, every direction your life takes, all of it starts with a thought. Your thoughts are the raw material from which your reality is built. They shape how you perceive the world, how you respond to challenges, how you treat yourself, and what you believe is possible. What you consistently think about becomes the lens through which you interpret everything. And over time, that lens determines the course of your life. The mind doesn't just observe reality, it actively constructs it. Two people can face the exact same situation, and one sees opportunity while the other sees defeat. One grows, the other retreats. The difference isn't in the circumstance, it's in the interpretation. And interpretation is governed by thought. When your thinking is dominated by fear, scarcity, or doubt, your world becomes smaller. You hesitate, you second guess, and you avoid risk. But when your thinking is focused on possibility, growth, and purpose, you begin to move with clarity and courage. Your internal dialogue, what you say to yourself when no one is listening, sets the tone for your external life. If you constantly tell yourself you're not capable, not worthy, or not ready, those beliefs will quietly sabotage every effort you make. You'll approach your goals half-heartedly, if at all. But when you shift that internal script and start feeding your mind with empowering, intentional, and constructive thoughts, your behavior starts to shift as well. You stand taller, you speak differently, you take bolder action, and that action, fueled by new thinking, creates new results. The mind is incredibly obedient to whatever you consistently feed it. If you focus on problems, you'll find more of them. If you focus on growth, your awareness sharpens around opportunity. This isn't just positive thinking, it's mental conditioning. Just like the body strengthens with repetition and resistance, the mind is shaped by the thoughts you repeat and the beliefs you reinforce. Over time, those thoughts crystallize into identity. I am capable, I am focused, I am disciplined, I am built for this. Even your emotional state is often a reflection of your thinking. Anxiety, stress, confidence, peace, all of these emotions are triggered not just by events, but by how you think about those events. Train your mind to seek solutions and you become more resilient. Train your mind to find reasons to be grateful and you experience more peace. The thoughts you choose become the emotional and behavioral patterns you live by. Most people don't realize that they are the architects of their mindset. They live with hand-me-down beliefs, unconscious patterns, and outdated mental scripts that were never examined. But the moment you begin to take ownership of your thinking, everything starts to change. You start noticing the stories you've been telling yourself about who you are, what you can do, what the world expects of you, and you realize that those stories aren't fixed. They're not truth, they're choices, and you can choose new ones. Changing your thoughts doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means interpreting it in a way that serves your growth. It means recognizing that while you can't always control what happens, you can absolutely control how you think about what happens. That mental shift, repeated and reinforced, creates a new internal world. And that new internal world becomes the foundation for a transformed external reality. Step 5. Visualization activates creation. Visualization is one of the most powerful tools you possess, and most people underestimate its impact. It's not just about imagining success or daydreaming about a better future. It's about programming your subconscious mind to believe in, move toward, and create that future. When you visualize with intention, detail, and emotion, you activate parts of your brain that make your vision feel real long before it shows up in your physical world. You create a mental blueprint, and your behavior starts to align with that image. The subconscious mind doesn't differentiate between what's vividly imagined and what's actually experienced. That's why athletes mentally rehearse their routines, top performers visualize outcomes, and high achievers spend time seeing the result before they ever touch it. They're not just fantasizing, they're conditioning their nervous system for success. They're creating internal certainty before external proof exists. And that internal certainty fuels action, decision-making, and confidence. When you visualize consistently, you give your brain a target. You create a picture of what success looks like, feels like, and sounds like. And once that picture is locked in, your mind starts working in the background to close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. You become more aware of opportunities that align with your vision. You make choices that support it. You start to act like the person who already has what you're aiming for. It's not magic, it's alignment. Your internal world begins to reflect the identity and behaviors required to reach your goals. The more often you see yourself succeeding, the more natural it feels to take the steps necessary to make that vision real. Visualization shifts your self-image, and when your self-image changes, your habits follow. You stop thinking like someone who's trying, and you start thinking like someone who does. There's also a powerful emotional component to visualization. When you attach strong feelings to the images in your mind, when you feel the pride, the gratitude, the peace, the excitement, you deepen the impact. Emotion reinforces the vision. It makes it stick. It adds intensity to your intention. And when your emotions and mental images are working together, you create an internal environment where belief grows stronger than doubt. Visualization also helps you navigate uncertainty. When you've seen yourself succeed 100 times in your mind, challenges feel less intimidating. You don't panic when obstacles arise because your brain has already practiced moving through resistance. You mentally rehearse the outcome so many times that it becomes familiar, and what's familiar feels safe, even when it's new in reality. This practice doesn't require hours. A few minutes of clear, focused visualization each day can rewire how you think, how you feel, and how you show up. It's about being deliberate, seeing what you want, believing it's possible, and mentally walking yourself through the process of achieving it. You create it first in your imagination with precision and repetition, because every result in the physical world begins as a mental construct. Every great invention, every world-changing idea, every life transformation, before it ever became real, it was first seen in the mind of its creator. Step 6, action reinforces belief. Belief doesn't just come from thinking or wishing, it's built through action. Every time you take a step forward, no matter how small, you send a message to your subconscious that says, I'm capable, I'm committed, I'm doing this. That message compounds. One action leads to another, and over time your identity begins to shift. You stop hoping you can become the person you want to be, and you start proving it to yourself. Belief isn't something you wait for. It's something you earn through repeated motion. Many people wait until they feel confident to take action, but that's backwards. Confidence doesn't precede action. Action creates confidence. You become confident by doing, by trying, by failing and learning and showing up again. Every time you follow through, even when it's uncomfortable, you collect evidence. And that evidence becomes the foundation of belief. You realize that you can rely on yourself, that you don't need everything to be perfect before you begin, that forward motion matters more than flawless execution. Taking action breaks the cycle of doubt. When you stay stuck in your head, overthinking, analyzing, hesitating, your doubts grow louder. You talk yourself out of your own potential. But when you act, when you move despite the uncertainty, you interrupt that pattern. You shift your focus from what if I fail to what can I do next. And each time you choose action over hesitation, you take power away from fear and give it back to yourself. Action also creates momentum. The hardest step is usually the first one, but once you're in motion, it becomes easier to stay in motion. Momentum makes discipline feel natural, progress feel visible, and belief feel real. It creates a rhythm of growth. You're no longer just thinking about change, you're living it. That lived experience becomes a mirror. It reflects back a version of you that's bold, consistent, and capable. It doesn't matter how small the action is, whether it's writing a single paragraph, making a difficult phone call, committing to 5 minutes of exercise, or learning one new skill. Each act of movement matters. It's not the size of the action that shapes your belief. It's the consistency. Repetition builds identity. You're not just doing the thing, you're becoming the kind of person who does that thing. Over time, your self-image transforms from someone who wishes, plans, or talks into someone who executes. Action also reveals clarity. You learn what works and what doesn't, not by sitting on the sidelines, but by stepping into the process. You stop operating on assumptions and start operating on feedback. You grow faster, smarter, and stronger, not because you have all the answers, but because you're willing to move, learn, and adapt. That feedback loop between action and belief becomes self-reinforcing. The more you do, the more you believe. And the more you believe, the more you're willing to do. The power of action lies in the fact that it rewires your brain. Each successful experience, each task completed, each challenge met creates a neurological imprint. Your brain records the win. It remembers the effort, the risk, the result. And it starts to associate your identity with the person who gets things done. This rewiring gradually replaces hesitation with conviction and self-doubt with self-trust. What once felt impossible becomes normal. What once triggered fear becomes part of your routine. And it all begins with movement. Small, deliberate, imperfect action that moves you closer to your goals and strengthens your belief that you are capable of achieving them. So now you understand your mind is the origin of everything. It is your command center, your engine room, and your compass. When you learn to control it, you stop living by default and start living by design. Clarity sharpens your focus. Discipline builds your momentum. Visualization directs your energy. Thought fuels your belief, and belief is strengthened by consistent action. This isn't theory. This is transformation in motion. It's not about waiting for the right moment. It's about becoming the kind of person who creates the moment. The world around you will always reflect the world within you. If you master your mindset, you master your outcomes. If you take command of your thinking, you take command of your future. Control your mind, and you will conquer your world.